So this is what President William Ruto's policies look like. So he comes and says, now, instead of the central bank protecting or massaging the exchange rates, let the market determine. Let the market tell us what the true value of the Kenya shillings is. And that is what the CBK did. Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel once more. If you are new to this channel, my name is Duncan. I pride myself as a public informant. I try to empower the public through the little that I know, all the much that I know. What I do is I realized that there is a very big gap when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to understanding of especially the basic societal matters, that it makes a lot of sense for people to just grasp. President William Ruto realizes that the consumption subsidies are not having the kind of multiplier effect that they should be having in the economy. So what does he do? He then says he wants to change the policy completely. He wants to move away from this thing of managing the economy predominantly through the CBK, predominantly through the monetary policy. And he wants to effect changes by using more of the fiscal policies and of course more of the market. In fact, he said he wants to let the market to take full control of itself. This approach is usually predominantly used by developed countries. So before I explain to you what President William Ruto's policies look like, let me tell you what a healthy economy looks like. A developed country most of the time has a very healthy economy. What do I mean by that? You will find that the economy is very elastic. Elastic in the sense that the market completely communicates the feelings and the behaviors of the consumers. And the market will adjust accordingly to the behaviors of the consumers and to the changes of the moods of the consumers. And that is why you even have the financial markets doing so well in developed countries. The biggest financial markets are located in the most developed economies. And the reason for that, the economies are predictable. The economies are able to be studied and consumer behavior can be interpreted and analyzed directly through the markets. You can clearly tell what the American consumers are saying just through observing the financial markets. You can communicate what the American investors are thinking just by looking into the financial markets. That is how elastic their economies are, and that is how the economies are reactive to consumer behavior. For you to arrive at that kind of level, you must have eliminated all other factors that are not within the market, that are affecting the market. That means you reduce all the noises that come outside the market. You reduce it significantly so that you can let the market dictate itself. But the problem now you have with developing countries, the noise around the market is just too much. There are so many factors affecting the market that you cannot predict. It is not very easy to predict markets. Those factors have made currencies to become too vulnerable. The economy is too vulnerable and it's unpredictable. You might use your economic knowledge that you have studied in developed countries to come and try and predict economies like, for example, the Kenyan economy. And I will tell you 9 times out of 10, you will get it wrong. There is just a lot of, first of all, there is a lot of difference in culture. Factors like culture affect consumer behavior. Factors like the level of awareness and understanding, the literacy levels are low in most of the developing countries. The humanitarian issues, they are significant. Humanitarian issues do affect, and they have a significant role they are playing in the market. The politics of developing countries is intertwined with the market. You want to influence the market, become a politician. Politicians have so much control in the local market that they can determine how they will want that market to operate. Just a few words from a few politicians completely shuts down the market. Now, explain to me how your economic analysis of the markets in developing countries could have helped. Did you know that politicians will behave that way? No, you wouldn't. That's why I'm saying, while the economic theory that William Ruto brought about is a very accurate approach, try and take the country from an ICU to the next level, but unfortunately that economic theory or that policy is not very well applicable in the Kenyan context, just for the short run. Because of course in the long run, that is where every country goes or wants to go. In the long run, that is the ideal, that is what should be happening. But in the short run, it becomes very impossible to achieve that. And the biggest mistake that the president did was to drastically change that. He just came and changed the entire setup and tries to achieve success using his approach, new approach. I'm not saying the new approach is wrong. I am saying it was drastic and he expected results within a very short period of time. So this is what President William Ruto's policies look like. So he comes and says, instead of the central bank protecting or massaging the exchange rates, let the market determine. Let the market tell us what the true value of the Kenya shillings is. And that is what the CBK did. The CBK released money supply. They untightened the control of the money supply. Untightening of money supply, what it does is that it reduces interest rates. Because this is the thing, if banks have money, if people have money, what is the incentive for people to come and borrow from the bank? So even the bank will have to lower its interest rates so that the people can actually take loans. And in the process, of course, now that will reduce the demand for the Kenya shillings. That is how the depreciation of the currency will happen. So when he did that, when he adjusted, he untightened the economy, what happened is the Kenya shillings now was open and exposed to the true realities of what is happening in the global economies. And that is the case across majority of African countries. If most of the African countries were to release their economies and allow the forces of demand and supply in the global economy to come and give them the true value of their currencies, it will be the same situation. And that is what now has happened to the Kenya shillings. So the Kenya shillings has given us the true picture of its value against the dollar. Now, and that is what he did. Now, by doing that, he now then said he is now going to focus on the production. So I think he hoped that production will immediately have an impact in the economy, and especially on the food side, because he did a lot of subsidized fertilizer, because he hoped that it will, within a season or two, then food will be sufficient and we will be able to, first of all, have enough food for consumption and, of course, for exporting. I don't know whether that was naive. I don't know whether that was too brave. I don't know whether that was stupid. But the only thing I can tell you is that the impact has not been as he expected, because he wanted to increase domestic output. And then the domestic output will automatically cause us to have more to export. And in the process, the demand for the Kenya shillings will increase significantly. And when that happens, the Kenya shillings now will adjust back to where it's supposed to have gone. But what has failed him is that his production output, his expected production output, has not met his expectations. And of course, it was not going to do that because, like I told you, our economy is inelastic. This is a developing country. The economy is inelastic. The economy will not react as quickly as you thought, especially on the positive side. The economy normally reacts. On the negative side, it reacts. But when it comes to the positive side of trying to improve things, the economy in most developing countries are inelastic. So what he realized then is that production will not increase as fast as he thought. And as a matter of fact, now, guys, that is where he found himself, where he is not getting enough government revenue, because, increase of domestic output will increase government revenue. So he's not getting enough revenue from the production, and he doesn't have enough production or output for him now to export, for the Kenya shillings now to come back to where he thought it will come back to. So the Kenya shillings has gone to the true value. There is no production to try and manage that exchange rate with, and the inflation now is going up and the interest rates are going up. So he is in a situation where he is thinking, should I go back or should I just stick to the plan, because I know in the long term this plan is coming, it will have a positive impact. Like, this plan will be successful in the long term. And that is where Kenya has found itself. President William Ruto has shifted that policy drastically. And that policy has now exposed us to the true reality of the global economy. And now we are in a situation where he has been forced now to go and borrow again, because he is not generating enough government revenue. He still needs subsidies to continue incentivizing the production side. So where will he get the money to incentivize production if government revenue is not there? Where will he get that? Where will he get money to even continue running the affairs of the government efficiently? He definitely will have to go and borrow if his plan is to come true. And that is why most Kenyans are asking, if he has changed the policy, why is he then continuing to borrow? It is precisely the reason. That is exactly what I'm telling you. He has realized that if he sticks to his plan, then the economy will never recover. He will never recover. And 2 years will just pass right in front of our eyes, and President William Ruto will be deemed to be a failure on his first term as a president of the Republic of Kenya. So guys, if you ever wanted to truly understand what is happening to our economy, that is what is happening to our economy. What is the fate of the Kenya shillings? The fate of the Kenya shillings is that it's going to remain as it is. This is what is now the value of the Kenya shillings. unless Ruto goes back again to the MPC, unless he goes back on his words and decides to go back to the central bank and tells the central banks to tighten the economy, unless he tells them to tighten the economy, because if he tells them to tighten the economy, then the exchange rate will readjust. But the problem is he has already communicated that is not his approach. So we are not expecting that it will change. So the Kenya shillings might remain, and it can even worsen. Depending on how further the economy is opened. How further? It is already open, but depending on how further the economy is opened, it might even depreciate further. But the thing is, if now eventually he manages to find a way to actually increase the national output significantly, then the Kenya shillings now will readjust to reflect the true status of Kenya's economy. So let's go back to the 4 facts that I gave you when I started. I told you that Uhuru was a precautionary leader, and you have now seen what I meant by that. He managed the economy precautionary by using the MPC, that is the Monetary Policy Committee. Number 2, Ruto is a risky president. He is the riskiest president in Africa. There are no presidents who are trying to do what Ruto is trying to do. This is not normal. This is not what African presidents do. So he is risky, and risky in the sense that what he's trying to do might backfire on him, or it might be the most successful thing that an African president has undertaken. Number 3, African countries are in the ICU. You clearly see what I told you. Majority of our countries are in the ICU, and there is nothing much we can do unless countries get heroes who are trying to do better things. And then the Kenya shillings exchange rate is now taking its position. You now understand what I meant when I told you it is now officially taking the true value that it has against the dollar. My viewers, I hope this video has been impactful to you. I hope it has helped you to truly understand how an economy works and how the different regimes in the Kenyan context have tried to manage the economy and what is happening in our country right now. The Monetary Policy Committee is meeting this February, I think next week. I'll be back to explain to you, to see what they have done. I'll be back to look at what they will have come up with. And from that report, I will explain to you how the Kenyan economy now will move. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. You don't know what this means to me that you are watching me. You don't know what it means to me that I have people who are following me and people who are giving me an audience for me to express my opinion that is factually supported to you. Please remain around, stick around, join this army of smart people by subscribing so that we can build a community of people who are thinking outside the box, people who are trying to understand, not to complain. At least let's make this difference in our community. Let's be different people, and it is only through that we can move to the next level. Thank you very much, and see you around again for the next episode.